You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. LSU has now up to 3 transfer portal additions. A.J. Swan, just minutes ago, the former Vanderbilt quarterback, has picked the Tigers. I want to talk about the 2 that committed over the weekend. Quick thought here on Xavier Thomas and Jordan Gilbert. Let's start with Xavier Thomas. Thomas, you probably know from John Ehret in New Orleans and spent the last 2 years at Mississippi State. Picked LSU over the weekend after making a visit to Baton Rouge. And I think this is a great start with Thomas and Gilbert, 2 guys from Louisiana at positions of need. LSU got some great news today on Monday. While Jaden Daniels is opting out of the bowl game, which we all expected, Kyron Lacey announced he's coming back for his senior season. So now you have Kyron Lacey with a shot to be a legit number 1, complemented by Xavier Thomas. Now, Xavier Thomas is a different style of receiver, 5'11", 190, and he's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. This past year, Xavier Thomas had 40 catches for 503 yards. Keep in mind that after Kyron Lacey, your next 2 most veteran receivers are Chris Hilton and Aaron Anderson. They have combined for 39 career receptions. Nobody else in LSU's roster has a career reception. So getting Kyron Lacey back for next year is massive because you have an experienced guy who had a nice season this year. Lacey had 24 catches for 463 yards. So in his career, starting at ULL and then for 2 seasons, then coming to LSU now for 2 seasons. So in his 4 years, he's got 98 receptions for 1,399 yards and 17 touchdowns. So you're talking about a dude that is by far your most experienced receiver. Put it this way. Kyron Lacey has had more production in his career than all of your other receivers combined. So getting Kyron Lacey back is massive. Xavier Thomas is a legit number 2. And then you've got great depth now with Chris Hilton, Aaron Anderson, and all the freak show young talent that you brought in last year with Shelton Sampson and Kyle Parker, Jaylen Brown, Kai Preon, then the guys coming in this class. So not only does adding Xavier Thomas give you another great veteran receiver, you also fix your punt return issues immediately. You have been abjectly awful at returning punts the last 2 years. This guy was a dynamic punt returner at Mississippi State. You fix that instantly. As for Jordan Gilbert, he was his story is an interesting one because he was a 4-star coming out of high school at U High here in Baton Rouge. And his coach, Andy Martin, was with us here earlier in the show today. And basically, Coach Martin told us that Gilbert didn't have a committable offer from LSU. They decided to go a different direction. And LSU was loaded up with safeties at the time. And they went a different direction. He committed to A&M, went there and played immediately in his first year. And then was injured this season and played in just 2 games. And he was incidentally replaced by another Louisiana safety in Jacoby Matthews. But 11 games as a freshman with 61 tackles and 2 interceptions, was great as a freshman at College Station. Was a starter there this year and then was injured and only played in 2 games. So now you're talking about a guy that's got 3 years of eligibility, 3 to play 3, because this effectively was a redshirt year for him. So 3 to play 3, and he's a plug-and-play guy at safety. Look at your safety position. I mean, Greg Brooks, obviously, he won't be back next year, and we're praying for Greg, and we assume his playing career very well could be over. Andre Sam's out of eligibility, and Sage Ryan is at the transfer portal. So when you look at who you have returning at safety, there's a lot of bodies which you don't have as a lot of experience. Like Major Burns could return. He was a freshman in 2020, the COVID year. So Major Burns could come back and play a fifth season, but he may go pro. After Major Burns, this is your safety depth. Matthew Langlois has played for 3 years, played in 11 games, has not recorded a stat. Jordan Allen, in his second year, played in 10 games, 7 career tackles. Ryan Yates, this year, freshman, played in 12 games, 13 tackles. Kylan Jackson, freshman this year, 4 games played, made 1 tackle. And then Javian Toviano, who's listed as a safety, played cornerback this year, played in 12 games. So you've got 6 guys listed as a safety. Potentially, if Major Burns returns, and if he doesn't, you got 5. And then, obviously, Deshaun McBride, who's the highest rated player in this signing class out of Denham Springs, is a safety as well. But what you don't have is experience. You got numbers, you don't have experience. So when we've talked about LSU's strategy going from adding numbers out of the portal out of necessity just to get enough scholarship players on your roster, that's what it was the last 2 years. You're adding double-digit players out of the portal out of necessity. Now it's find the spots on your roster where you could use some veteran talent. You need a receiver, Xavion Thomas. You could use a safety, Jordan Gilbert. You need to fill a gap at quarterback, A.J. Swan. It's a dramatically different reality than last year adding 4 cornerbacks because you had to remake your entire room. Adding a half dozen defensive linemen because you needed numbers there. This is very different this year in the way they're approaching it. Build through the high school ranks, supplement through the portal with players that can help you at positions of need, and that's what LSU's doing. So Xavion Thomas, Jordan Gilbert commit over the weekend, today, Monday, just minutes ago, as a matter of fact. A.J. Swan, who started a dozen games over the last 2 years at Vanderbilt, committed to LSU, and he adds that veteran transfer depth piece at quarterback. Thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.